and welcome back to the Niche Football Podcast, hosted by me, Cavan Campbell. The aim of this podcast is to focus on the more unique stories in football, the ones that you may not have heard of. The Niche Football Podcast will run alongside Niche Football Journalism.co.uk in bringing you interesting stories from around the world, a more narrative and storytelling format than your usual football podcast, and one that aims to tell a unique story in every episode. And in this episode, we are going to be talking about the lowest ranked team, national team in the world, in accordance to the FIFA rankings, San Marino. They have long been adrift in last place of the FIFA rankings, almost to the amusement of people around the world. But why are they cemented to the bottom? Are they showing signs of improvement? And what is the domestic situation regarding football in the nation? Well, let's start with the domestic football. The micronation only has one division, the Campionato Sammarinese di Calcio, or just the San Marinese Football Championship. No relegation or promotion, and a league consisting of 16 teams. Quite a large league, to be fair, considering the size of the country. Given that the nation is so small, fielding 16 teams is pretty impressive. For example, fellow micronations have different football approaches to football leagues. Monaco is a club side and instead playing the French Ligue 1, which many people know, and to great success. Liechtenstein clubs, again another micronation, they all play in the Swiss Football League system, and there is no football league system in place in Liechtenstein. Unsurprisingly, Sammarinese clubs do not fare too well on the European stages. Tre Fiori are the most successful club domestically, with 8 league titles, but have only ever reached the second qualifying round. Once in the Europa League, where they lost to Riga FC from Latvia, and then again in the Conference League, where they fell to a 1-0 defeat over 2 legs to Faroese side B36 Torshavn. They may be the most successful domestically, but they have been beaten by AC Virtus on the European stage. AC Virtus have only won the domestic league twice, but in qualification for the 25-26 UEFA Conference League, they made history. Fortunately, they did receive a bye in the second qualifier round to set up a third round tie with Milsami Orhai from Moldova. A 5-3 victory over 2 legs saw them become the first side from San Marino ever to reach the playoff round. Unfortunately, that is as far as they got. A 5-2 defeat to Icelandic side Breidablik left them out of Europe. Winners of the league qualify for the Champions League preliminary round, with runners-up being placed in the Conference League preliminary round. The domestic cup winners also join the runners-up. Turning our attention to the national team then, San Marino played their first ever game in 1986. The game was unofficial, but it is regarded by San Marinese people as their first match. A 1-0 defeat to the Canadian Olympic team. The first competitive game later followed in 1990, again falling to defeat, which unfortunately for San Marino would become a common trend, this time losing 4-0 to Switzerland. A difficult start to life in international football, but somewhat surprisingly, there are some bright spots amongst the darkness. For 27 years, San Marino held a record in FIFA, the fastest goal scored in a World Cup. Of course, this was in qualifying, as they have never made it to the main stage. David Gualtieri perhaps, it, excuse the pronunciation, he scored after just 8.3 seconds against England in 1993. The goal that shocked the footballing world, albeit they did succumb to a 7-1 defeat in that game. This record has since been broken by Christian Benteke of Belgium after scoring in just 8.1 seconds against Gibraltar in 2016. In the same qualifying cycle, the micronation made further history, achieving their first points in group stage history. And it's a very respectable point, a nil-nil draw with Turkey. And following that, it wasn't until 2002, uh, in a game against Latvia, that they would replicate another draw. And then another further draw away to Liechtenstein. Some positive results, even if that one was a friendly. What happened next, though, was the moment they had waited for. In 2004, home friendly against Liechtenstein again. Some could say a friendly rivalry is building between the two micronations, but a historic 1-0 win, a moment for all San Marinese people to celebrate. A win that was 18 years in the making. A win that would never be forgotten, and perhaps this is where the friendly rivalry starts between these two countries. A few draws in the following years, with the highlight being the draw against Estonia. It wasn't until 2024, 20 years later, that San Marino would once again taste victory again. This occurred in the 24-25 UEFA Nations League group stages, the new competition brought in. They were grouped with friendly rivals Liechtenstein and Gibraltar, a very, very new team on the international stage in comparison. The Italian enclave was victorious in its opening game. Once again, the old foe Liechtenstein was the victim. A 1-0 victory followed by a defeat and a draw to Gibraltar, leaving them with 4 points after 3 games. Unheard of for all San Marinese people. This put San Marino in a very unfamiliar position, on the edge of promotion, which many people wouldn't have imagined in their wildest dreams, a promotion out from their group. And dreams do come true. A 3-1 win over the old foe, leaving the perennial underdogs top of the group and claiming the most unlikely of group titles. Every neutral willed this to be the catalyst for the micronation to push on and become that plucky underdog. But unfortunately, it hasn't become the tale we all wanted it to be, succumbing to defeat in every game since, including a 10-0 hammering by Austria. Is the future looking bright for San Marinese? Difficult to say. The national team are hugely unlikely to win any of their games in the next rendition of the Nation League after their promotion. However, with domestic clubs reaching the furthest point ever in European competition qualifying, there are signs of domestic progress. And with domestic progress comes improvement in national team pool players. So a tale of misfortune, perhaps, but every football fan romanticizes about the idea of San Marino winning a game. The world's worst, in quotation marks, national football team may be a bit harsh. With progressions into domestic league, don't be surprised if San Marino lift themselves off the bottom of the FIFA rankings in the not so distant future. And there goes the final whistle on this story. If you have any thoughts, head over to the website and leave a comment on the article. Any feedback is appreciated, even ways in which to improve the pod. Tell your friends, follow the socials at Niche Football Pod, leave 5-star reviews, subscribe to the YouTube, and I'll see you at the next kickoff.